be a terrific game. Oh, nice shots.
Oh, that's gone. That's gone.
It's a beautiful shot.
Nicely played.
The atmosphere here is electric.
You make me feel so alive.
It's not very often that you find the highest innings of a test match being the last innings, but that's what Sri Lanka have to do if they're going to be winning this test. 304 is not impossible.
Yeah! Oh, brilliant! Absolutely brilliant! They'll stand on fire.
Gone! There's 2-2!
South Africa on fire.
I suppose you could say the Sri Lankan batting is falling apart at the seams.
Pereira.
Sri Lanka's KP.
Nice to play shots.
He'll take on anyone.
Oh, Kusal Pereira. He's playing a gem of an innings here.
Who knows what could happen if some of them could just hang around with him.
He realizes that it's either him or nothing.
Oh, he's middled it. Absolutely middled it. It's into the chairs.
Oh boy, the Sri Lankans haven't given up.
How did it get this close?
Don't you stop now, right?
Oh, just misses the edge, just misses the stumps. They can't bear to watch in the dressing room.
3 figures for Kusal Pereira. Very good knock.
He's been exceptional.
That's up and away. That's onto the bank. That's a great shot. He middles it again. That's onto the bank. That's 6 of them. 4 more runs required. He does it! He absolutely does it! He's got his team to victory. He's got 150. What a historical day here at Durban.
February 16th. It's a special, special day.
He does it! He absolutely does it!
Well, what about that nerve jangling it was in Durban? A fantastic test match between South Africa and Sri Lanka. They do it all again. This time, a different scene in Port Elizabeth. We come to you live from St. George's Park. Yes, hello and welcome. It's a lovely day, a bit overcast, but we expect that it'll be hot, hot, hot out in the middle as it was in Durban. It's good morning also to Sean Pollock and Russell Arnold. They were the two who you heard right at the end there, and they were on for some time together. You've had time to reflect. In fact, I'll come to you first, Russell Arnold. How happy are you? How happy were you at the time? Relive it a little bit for us.
Oh, fabulous. Never believed it would happen. It was only probably when those overthrows happened that I looked at Sean and he said, this could happen here. You know, something strange is going to happen. Until then, it looked like it'll just be a formality at some stage. South Africa going to get one straight and that'll be that. But amazing effort from Kusal Pereira. Outstanding in the sense I've never seen him so composed. The decisions that he made and the feelings, unbelievable, because cricket's been so, down in the dumps really. And this gave a great feeling. But today it's something different. You've got to do it all again. Doesn't matter what happened. You've got to back it up. That's very important.
Yeah, I don't want you to go forward yet. We'll go back. You need to ensure that you celebrate sufficiently what Sri Lanka did, because it wasn't a little
You can do it
feat.
in 5 days.
Yeah, okay. Sean Pollock, your thoughts and reflections after calming down, because you weren't calm at the time.
No, it was one of those few games, you've seen so much cricket that you actually got involved. And emotionally you were right in on the situation, and you felt like you were part of it. And, I look back at the Sri Lankan performance the whole way through, and I thought when they came on this tour, how are they going to be competitive? How are they going to be able to compete? They win the toss, they bowl first, they got South Africa 3 down. I think, there's an opportunity. Maybe they can make inroads. South Africa get over 250 or whatever it was. Then they had they're 50 for 1 at the close of play. And I think, they're still in it. Next day they lose 3 quick wickets, and you think, they're going to be back under pressure. And they kept popping up these moments where I thought Sri Lanka could just compete here. Then when it got down to 9 wickets down, you think, this is impossible. There's no ways they can do it. Pereira's going so strong, but who can stick around with him? And I thought, it can't happen. And then when, as Russell said, at one stage we said, this could actually happen. Things tend to look like they're running for Sri Lanka. But then you can't take away from his brilliant performance. I mean, to be able to pick those deliveries, to be able to wait for the certain delivery and be patient enough and to whack them on the bank when he decided to take a risk. He never faltered at all. I think there was one top edge that went for 6. Besides that, it was class batting. Unbelievable to be involved in it, and to have that innings end up with a victory, it was a special moment.
Yeah, superb. Okay, let's have a look at the moments of the game. There you go, Sean Pollock. I remember your voice, actually. It was as if your voice was going to go. I couldn't have imagined as well what you'd have been thinking at that time, Russell Ardle.
Oh, it's happened it was trying to come to terms with it, that Sri Lanka had got home. Like Sean said, there was no hope coming in, and it was about Sri Lanka competing. But at the back of your mind, you always knew that for Sri Lanka to start breathing again, it needed something extraordinary. And that really did come to pass. We've seen Sri Lankans put up performances now and again, but not finishing it. Pereira took it right to the end. Sean touched on his stroke play. Well, during that period, he was very good in defence too. Never didn't panic about Vishwa Fernando. He trusted him. And that helped him actually be really spot on with all the decisions he made and made it run for him. Really extraordinary effort. And of course, we got to say a word for Vishwa Fernando and the part he played in it.
He played a big part, a partnership of 78, and you end up over the line as well. Here is a look at the summary of the match. As you said, Sean Pollock, 235, having won the toss, and they decided that they would field first Sri Lanka, and that's decent. You bowl your side out in the first innings. 191 seemed an opportunity lost. 191 Sri Lanka with an opportunity to try and get past South Africa. Then, again, and it was the period where it was 5 wickets, I think, for 28 runs when Sri Lanka come back. And yes, some will point to a ball changed or whatever it was, but South Africa 259 in the end. But still enough. 304 just seemed too many. And as you heard from the clip at the start, Mikey Holding say, well, you don't get too often a team scoring the most runs in the test match in an innings to win in the 4th innings. They did just that. It was absolutely unbelievable. Let's think about what innings have been kind of like that in times past. Anything in your head at all?
Gosh, nothing jumps out of me off the top of my head. I suppose South Africa have had their win in Perth, where the guys got together and put on a decent partnership. But invariably what it requires an effort from someone. And Pereira was obviously the key. And I think the thing for me too was the fact that he learnt the lesson from the first innings. He got out for 51 where he tossed it away, where he could have batted with the tail for a period of time. Second time around, he comes in, he's in that situation again. It's all on his shoulders. He has to harbour it. And he did it unbelievably well. I mean, who would have saw it coming after what happened in the first innings? You thought, well, he's one of those guys who just goes at it. He'll probably offer opportunity. He didn't. He was absolutely brilliant. I mean, this is the way he plays. And this was at the start when maybe there wasn't any much hope and they were trying to put a partnership together. But it's at the back end when he's got himself to 50, maybe even to 70. Another guy walked his tail and is walking to the crease. And he decides to play shots like this, and he never got them wrong. That's the big surprise. Yes, the surface is good, and there was no invariable bounce. But when he decided to go after them, he middled him. It wasn't like he just popped him over the boundary. It was onto the top of the bank. And even the presence of mind just to run that one past third man. The only place he could have been caught was that slip. And he runs it past the slip, beats the third man to victory. It was special.
Almost as if to say, you were nearly there.
Yeah. Close but no cigar.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of Sri Lankans relate that to what happened in 1996. That's the very same shot that Arjuna played for Sri Lanka to win that World Cup, and it changed how the Sri Lankans looked at the game, the confidence level. So, well, you can't blame them for thinking that this could do the same. There were many times during that innings once he got to 50 because of what he'd done before. Will he throw it away? Then he got hit. He was on the ground in pain, and thoughts went back to Canberra, where he had to retire hurt. But none of those demons came back to haunt him.
Yeah.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah. Can we make him Lara-like? If you think back to 1999 in Bridgestone, I think it was.
Yeah, he scored an identical 153. The problem here is in saying Lara-like is at a different league because what he's achieved over his career. Kusal's just starting, not done much in that sense. But if you look at this innings alone, I'd say it's up there. Probably the top one.
Yeah?
Top one, yes.
Probably
in terms of this innings only. So when you say Lara, like people like to, oh, Lara's done so much. No, we're talking about this particular innings.
I think, we're just likening it to the innings, the particular innings, as you say, and that game played out pretty much the same way. 490 Australia, they're the team that are winning that game as it kind of starts out. In 329 for the West Indies, kind of stays close by, but it's a big lead to give up. And then there's the difference, 146, Courtney Walsh with a fifer, and Lara having to do it with the last man at the end.
Yeah,
Probably would have been Walsh again.
Anytime you have to survive with none done. But Pom, have another look at this thing. McGrath, 33 overs, McGrath, 44 overs. Those were the days, when the bowlers had to bowl those extended long spells to try and get a result. It wasn't just 10 and 15 overs. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Oh, goodness.
77 overs in one game. Thanks for coming.
I couldn't believe you can see that far.
My eyes are good from far, but not so close.
Well, you're good to see what you want to see.
Of course, of course.
And you absolutely spotted it. Okay, we're going to shift over to South Africa. And in shifting over to South Africa, let's hear what the thoughts of Faf du Plessis were at the end of the test match.
No, there's obviously quite a bit of emotions. The disappointment being right at the top. Trying to think what we as a team could have possibly done better. But as I said in the post-match there, innings like that, it's one of the innings that will get spoken about for a lot of years still. To get the runs like he did, he took the game on. Obviously similar to what Quinton does when he comes towards the end there, and he takes a lot of risks. And some days it pays off, and some days it don't. To hit consistently the bowlers that we have, to hit them for 6 over the fielders, all the risks paid off. So, I'm probably go back and think what we could have done differently. When I was out there thinking, try all the different tactics, try the spinner, try the seamers, try bringing the field up, try keeping the field down. But he just manoeuvred beautifully with the tail the whole time. He managed to get the strike. He probably faced 90% of the balls, and that's where you as opposition is trying to make sure you bowl as many balls as possible at the number 11. But he handled it so beautifully. And when we got the chance to bowl at the number 11, he didn't nick it, a couple of few past the edges there. Obviously you want to try and hit the stumps, but on any other day your number 11 nicks that. So very, very disappointing sitting here, but I have to applaud him for a magnificent batting performance. I'm disappointed in the runs that we scored in both innings. I think we were under par with both that. We've played on harder, more difficult surfaces the last 2 years, and we scored more runs. So I thought there was an opportunity to get more runs. So for me, that's more a controllable this game, where we perhaps could have been better. The loss of Vern this morning, Vern on a wicket like that is deadly. And then lastly, probably the last conditions you want to try and play Sri Lanka on would be something like that, a very, very slow wicket. So perfectly set up for them to start their tour in South Africa on a not subcontinent pitch. But as you saw, spinner took 5 slow conditions. Dwan wasn't as effective because the ball was stopping a lot of the pitch. So I would say they outplayed what we thought they would give us on this first match. But there wasn't much out there to work with. But for me, the upsetting thing was I think we underscored in both innings. No, we've got a terrible record, and obviously we played Pakistan, Joburg, Pretoria, Cape Town, which is all the right places where you want to play subcontinent teams. But then what happens is you need to take Test cricket all around the country, and what's left is the 2 slower pitches, which is what in a perfect world you want to play. If you have to play all 5 venues, then you split it up probably a little bit. You play Sri Lanka, one in the Highveld and 1 coastal wickets. But still, we still have to be a team that's adaptable and good enough to beat teams like Sri Lanka in our own conditions, even if you're playing on a piece of pudding. You still want to make sure you get the results. So disappointed that we didn't. We can't point any fingers. We'll look at areas where we need to improve, and that's, as I said, more for me with the bat. And then you have to give credit where it's due. You played that was a phenomenal innings. To get 160 out of 300 runs. Well done.
Indeed, yeah. Kudos to Sri Lanka, but we're looking towards South Africa here a little bit. Sean, if I said to you, go back and shift things and try and get on the right side of the result, are there any glaring things that you see that could have been done differently?
You know, after the game, you're driving home, you're thinking about certain options. I know that Durban as a surface is really good. What we've seen from the other surfaces around South Africa, the ones that Faf's mentioned, is Joburg, Pretoria. You do get the up and down surface where you run up and bowl nice and straight. Invariably, one misbehaves, stays down, or one stands up. It creates opportunities. Durban doesn't go like that on day 3, day 4, and sometimes day 5. I just thought that they needed to try and make sure that he had to think about those 78 runs for as long as possible. For me, it happened all too quickly, where the ability to hit both sides of the wicket, 4 this side, 4 that side, straight at the stumps. He was whacking 4s there, whacking 6s. It was all happening, whereas I think what they maybe could have done in hindsight is say, listen, you're going to just score on the offside, and you're going to get one, no boundaries. They're going to be hard to find. You're going to have to try something really different, and maybe he makes a mistake there. But as I've said, he tried the seam, he tried the spinners. I think at the start of that partnership, they thought, no way, he's going to get out. There's no chance. I think it was too late once he got down to 30 required, and he thought, hold on, we might lose this. The new ball was taken, which came and flew a bit quicker. I think it was caught them a little bit unawares that they would get that close.
Tell me about the venues, and I speak from a perspective of you come from the subcontinent, you turn up in South Africa. Would it be fair to say these 2 venues, Durban being one and here Port Elizabeth being another, would be the ones that Sri Lanka would pick?
You'd probably correct, you're probably right there. But on the other hand, where these 2 teams are at, in terms of the personnel, the game plans, the results, everything, South Africa should be beating Sri Lanka anywhere. It shouldn't come down to the venue itself. I'm with Sean in the fact that there were things that South Africa could have done a lot different. Sean touched on the fact that they didn't attack Kusal Pereira. I'd go a bit further and say, after lunch, I thought Keshav Maharaj should have been entrusted with bowling from one end and attack from the other. I think his rustiness also cost South Africa.
Yeah, and I guess, Sean, you know, with regard to number of bowlers, once you have 4 bowlers, because one of the bowlers went down, didn't they? Did that affect things?
Hugely. I think Vernon just bowled in 8 overs in that innings. But it could have been worse. You could have gone with a 4-pronged attack and lost the guy. They still had all the personnel. They still had a new ball at their disposal. They used the new ball for the first time in a test match in this summer. I don't think you can look at the pitch. I don't think you can look at the bowlers too much. Credit must go to the batsmen. But I think South Africa were caught out a little bit unawares, thinking that they wouldn't have to worry, that it would just present itself, that last wicket.
Okay, well, there you go. That's what happened in Test match number 1. We're looking ahead to Test match number 2. Essentially, South Africa must win to ensure that they do not lose the series. For Sri Lanka, well, 7th heaven if they can win here, because they then win a series overseas here in South Africa for the first time. We're back in not too long from now. Sinip.
So alive.
The atmosphere here is electric.
So alive.
We are in Nelson Mandela Bay, Port Elizabeth. Yeah, that's a look at the harbour. Much activity over there. And we expect that we'll have a pretty good test match here in a second, with South Africa needing to win and Sri Lanka wanting to win so that they can clinch the series. Welcome if you're just joining us. Sean Pollock and Russell Arnold have moved along, and in come 2 great fast men alongside me. Yeah, one of them Mikey Holding looking around for another. Good morning to you, Mikey, and morning also to Makai and Tini. How are you, gentlemen?
Good morning, Pommy. Yes, it's a lovely weather. It's good weather to be here, and I'm good.
You're good?
Oh, yes, I'm good.
How much of the last test match did you watch?
I think every single ball.
Oh, really? You were gripped?
Listen to this. The worst part, just for the last on the 4th day, and then I went to fetch my kid. I said, South Africa needed 1 wicket. And then I come back, it's over. I come back, I said, what happened? What has changed?
Yeah.
1 wicket. It's okay, it's over.
Wasn't
I
it?
tell you
No,
what happened.
not at all.
Makaya, what happened is that the team thought so as well. That is what happened.
Oh man, that was sad news. Sad news. I couldn't believe in myself when my child was sitting and said, I need coffee. And he said, Dad, are you okay?
Yeah.
I said, no, man, I left here. South Africa needed 1 wicket. And then I come back. Man, no, that's not good.
Well, it was good for Sri Lanka. Mikey, the drama of it. Oh, yeah, morning, as I say. You're looking around there and I was saying good morning to you.
I saw the one great fast ball. I was looking for the other.
All right, okay. Never you mind. We found him. Okay. Hope you're well.
I am good, thanks,
Yeah,
Bob,
reflect on what we saw. Kusal Pereira, Sri Lanka as a side that comes into a tour where there's chaos all about, and they managed to pull off that. Well, I won't call it a heist, actually, because in the end, I suppose Kusal Pereira plays well.
He played very, very well. That was a magnificent innings. I've been speaking to a few people after the test match and trying to compare it to other innings that I've seen under similar circumstances. And I think that's one of the best innings I've seen under those circumstances. You go back to Lara, when Lara won that test match for the West Indies in Barbados. I think it was batting with Courtney Walsh.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. I can't remember the details, and I don't think I watched a lot of it because, of course, it was so tense. Sometimes you're watching it. If you're involved emotionally, sometimes you're watching and sometimes you tend not to watch.
Yeah.
I could watch all of this. I wasn't involved emotionally. It wasn't a West Indies team.
Right.
And watching Pereira bat throughout that entire innings, it was magnificent.
Yeah.
It was a great innings. And I don't want to take anything away from him, but I still think that South Africa didn't handle themselves very well in the field. I can't understand why you'd have top-class fast bowlers bowling to someone like Pereira. He's a good player, we all know that, with 7 fielders on the boundary. You've got to decide the length and the line at which you're going to be bowling to this man and decide, okay, if I bowl this length and this line, where can he hit me? And have defenders in those positions. You can't have 7 defenders. Let him have to improvise to try and get a boundary or improvise to score some runs if you are bowling the right line and length. And they didn't do that.
Okay, well, that's looking back. We want to look forward. I suppose before we do that, we must kind of get you in on DRS as well. We're going over to Mike Hazeman for the first time today. Yeah, selector first, actually. Let us know, Mike, who it is who you feel will be playing in this one.
Thanks, Palm. Yeah, I've got Russell alongside me to go through Sri Lanka as well. We've got the 2 teams that played in the last test, so we're going to see if there's going to be any changes here. It's actually going to be quite simple, really. I'm going to get into South Africa for starters and just look at this change. Of course, Vernon Philander is out, and that's a real concern for South Africa. Basically, I think he's just breaking down almost every series, and that sounds a little bit harsh, but I'm sure that's starting to weigh on the coach's mind, also the captain's mind. He would have been brilliant at the end of that last test. He wasn't there, and he's not here in a very important test. So I think basically it's going to be pretty simple. It is going to be Mulder who's going to be coming in. This is what I would go for. I'd like to correct Faf du Plessis a little bit and also Otis Gibson. They said that Mulder is like for Vernon Philander. Vernon Philander is a bowling all-rounder and a magnificent bowling all-rounder. Mulder is a batting all-rounder, so certainly not like for like. I think there should have been some discussion about Olivier because I don't think this track is going to suit him. We saw that it didn't suit him in Durban. I think it's perhaps going to be worse for him with the length that he does bowl. So that means that staying in Rabada, I've got some work to do. Maharaj is there as well. Right, Russ, let's go to Sri Lanka. What's your call there with Sri Lanka?
I'd be surprised if there are any changes. Yes, this is the team that played. You back the team that did win. But, of course, there would have been discussion about the form of Lahiru Tirimana. But I suspect they'll continue with him. And then further down, Kusal Mendis, there was an injury concern. He rolled his ankle, and I did see a fitness test being taking place a while ago. I think he's come through all right.
So he's got the finger issue and also the ankle.
Ankle was new, which popped up between the test matches, but I think he's pulled up all right. I really don't think there was any discussion anywhere else. So hopefully Mendis is fit, and I think Tirimana will get the backing so that Sri Lanka go in with an unchanged 11.
So it's to be unchanged, but of course we've got to try and get the smile off Pereira's face.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, exactly. Very good point. Very good point. Well said. Right, Palm, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Hayes. And no question that there will be much discussion with regard to who it is who ought to play. Does it affect things, Mikey Holding, that South Africa lost the game? I know there's an injury perspective that you look at, but when you lose a game, does that kind of get the selectors thinking even more?
The selectors may think, but I think it's up to the team and the team management to sit down and think to themselves, why did we lose this game? Don't just panic and think automatically you have to start making changes. I don't see the necessity for South Africa to make any changes in this game. It's not that the surface that they're playing on is a lot different from the one that they just played on in Durban. So I don't see any reason to make a change. As I said, I think they went wrong in the field. If they had got that wicket and won by 60 runs, you wouldn't have heard any arguments about playing in the wrong venues and wanting to make changes. They just made some bad decisions in the field on the last day, and I think they need to stick with the same team and say, listen, you guys are good enough to win. Let's go out and win.
Unfortunate, though, that they can't have Vernon Philander with his, grade 1, did they say, hamstring strain?
No, for me, this is one of the things that we always thinking of that after the effect. From our point of view, I think, when Mr. Mike's saying that the plan was never been put into place, whereby I think South Africa, they didn't really have a plan for their last man. They're always thinking that the Pereira, the way he was batting, he probably is going to give a single and go and stand on the other side and then they bowl to the last man. Not having Vernon is not an issue. You had Rabada, you had Maharaj, you had Delstein. Those are the fine bowlers. Why then we have to worry about someone who got injured and thinking that he could have been the person that would have taken that last wicket? Coming to this one now, the injury, whoever, anyone can get injured. So the replacement of that particular person, let's not put too much pressure into him. Let's play the game like, we're playing the new game.
Fresh start.
Yes.
Important, the fresh start part. Go on, Mikey, you can say so.
As I've always said, I don't believe a good team needs more than 4 bowlers. They ended up with 4 bowlers on the field. If perhaps they had played the 4 bowlers initially and played another batsman, they would have had more runs on the board and they wouldn't have had the problem that they did have. So that is another angle that you can look at. We can always say if this and if that, but I'll still maintain that I do not believe good teams need 5 bowlers.
Okay, shift on to Sri Lanka and speak about them trying to erase what happened. By erase, I suppose you want to take good memories, but you want to be able to make a start and start properly to play your best again.
Well, they should take confidence from the last test match. And as I said, the second innings, for me, I think they approached the second innings a lot better than how they approached the first innings because of what they saw their lower-order batsmen do in the first innings. They recognized that it was possible to spend time at the crease. It was possible to get runs. They batted better in the second innings, and, of course, that was the biggest innings of the test match.
Okay. Well, yeah, we're looking forward to what may well happen in this test match. First test match, something to write home about, definitely. And many of you out there are happy to watch it, and if you haven't, I'm sure your mates have told you about it. Let's see what happens with this second one. South Africa under pressure, the pressure to win and not lose a series. Sri Lanka looking for victory. Let's get it started. Sean Pollock at the toss.
Yes, Palmer, we're in the middle here for the second test between Sri Lanka and South Africa. Faf du Plessis, Dimit Karunaratne, Richard Richardson, the match referee, and we've got the mascot, Zach. You've got the coin, Faf. Give it a spin. Tails is the call again. And it comes up heads this time, so South Africa get to decide. And you're going to decide too?
We're going to bat first, Polly.
Okay, thoughts on the surface? A little bit of grass, but you're still happy to have a bat first?
Yeah, traditional PE wicket, quite soft day one, quite a bit of grass, so it plays very slow on day one. And then generally when you think to bowl first is when that wind comes over the scoreboard or then there's a little bit of overcast conditions. So obviously today, for now, the wind's not there, and it looks like it's going to be a good day.
Team composition-wise, obviously Vernon misses out. Is that just the one change, or there more than that?
One change, and then Vian Mulder comes in, which is really exciting for him. I think he offers a real good balance to our test team, not only with Vern's injury, but also moving forward for us as a test team. So hopefully this will be the start of a great career for him.
Okay, touching on it, what is his replacement? I mean, it's not like for like. So is he more of a batting all-rounder to strengthen the batting and obviously contribute with the ball? Or do you see him as a like for like for Vern?
No, you're right, Paddy. There, it's more of a batting all-rounder. Number 7 position is obviously in Test cricket is something that we've used as a batter in the past. And he's a batter. He bats in the top 5 for the Lions, and then he comes in as that fourth seamer that can bowl you however many overs you need from him in the day. So he's got all the right attributes to be a great for South African cricket. But it's the start of his journey today, so we're lucky that we can start it with him today.
Having lost the last game, plenty of motivation for this one?
Yeah, I thought it was obviously when we wrapped it up after the previous game, we felt that we didn't play a bad game of cricket. There's a few things where we needed to improve on. Obviously, making sure that we extend those partnerships is one of them. But from a bowling point of view, I thought we were good in both innings. If you take one batter's runs out of both those innings, they would have been in trouble. So, yeah, we've focused more on ourselves and trying to make sure that we can be a little bit better for this Test match.
Okay, thanks for your thoughts. All the best.
Thank you, Polly.
Dimit, having to bowl first, are you unhappy? What would you have done?
Yes, if I won the toss, I would do the bowling first because I want to take the most advantage for the new ball. So if I won the toss, I definitely going to bowl first.
Seems like there's a little bit of grass, so you might get some assistance in that first hour?
Yeah, I think it's really, if you see some grass on it and some moisture on it on the underneath, that's why I want to bowl because first few hours it's not easy to bat. It's spongy bounce and sometimes I will get side movements as well. So I think the new ball will be key. If you can get a couple of wickets in the early, we can have a good time in the first session.
Team changes, anyone, or are you guys going with the same formula that won?
No, we're going for the same team.
Okay, and from the perspective of the batting, I suppose the bowling was really good. Batting-wise, you guys would have liked to get more runs. Pereira got a 50 and 150, but the contributions around, you're looking for a better performance from the other batters?
Yeah, I think as a batting unit, we need to all contribute a lot. This kind of surface, it's not easy to bat, but it's when you come to the bat, you have to contribute. If you get a start, you have to go for the big fun. Even me, I got a couple of starts, but I couldn't make a maximum out of it. But the boys are pretty shape. They want to do well in this game as well.
Win the last one. Is it easy to put those excitement behind you and now focus on the next job?
Yeah, I think it's a good win for us. But I know we have to start from the zero from this game. So all the boys are pretty good. They were really excited to play this game.
Okay, all the best. Go well.
Thank you.
So the news from the middle is Faf du Plessis wins the toss this time. He decides they're going to have a bat first.
Thank you, Sean Pollock. A confirmation then of South Africa's side. And in there is the all-rounder Vean Mulder. Makai Antini, as you look at that side, that is the only change. Tell me what you feel, what you think. It's enforced, of course. Someone had to come in because Phil Ander's out.
Yes. For me, I think, this is a kind of opportunity that every single, child that plays cricket is looking for. Mulder, now he's got his opportunity. He has played unbelievable from the provincial point of view. He has shown the sign of that he wants to represent the country. These are the things that we really appreciate from the selectors' point of view, that they don't just look on the older players, they look into the youngsters that they can take, South Africa into the next level.
How does it help, Mikey, the fact that you've played one-day games, been in that change room before, and so been in the national setup? Then you come and you make a debut in Test match cricket.
Well, it's a different form of the game for me, but it doesn't really matter that much as far as the individual is concerned. He goes into that dressing room, he's familiar with the people in the dressing room, he's familiar with international cricket. That helps tremendously, instead of just someone who is coming into the dressing room and only seeing these guys as opposition in their domestic tournament. He has seen them on his own team, so that will help him a great deal. I understand that he's a batting all-rounder. Well, I think that will help South Africa a great deal.
Yeah, Makaya, as you look at Sri Lanka's team, expectation would have been they would keep it together, give this team a chance to play again together, having won so well in the previous one, right?
For me, their tails are up. Without any doubt, I think from their point of view, they are so excited that they've won the last test. Coming here in PE and then they're looking into that wicket is almost similar to the one that I played on. And then I think one thing that is going to actually, give them the boost when now they're bowling first. So they're going to see every single movement of the wicket. For them, then it's almost like the learning curve, how we're going to approach, the wicket when we're batting, when the South Africa is bowling to them. I think it's fantastic for them to be batting last, in that particular wicket.
Impressions made, Mikey, by some of them. I'm thinking Embol Dinya. I'm thinking also Fernando was there at the end, swinging the ball up at the front. There are some troubles that they can give to South Africa as they start up.
I like Bishwa Fernando's bowling. I like the fact that he has been able to move from over round the wicket and maintain his control. He gets a bit of movement on both sides of the wicket. I think he has very good control. I think he may start well again here, which is exactly what Sri Lanka will be hoping. They put South Africa into bat in the last test match. I don't think they'll be too perturbed about bowling again first here.
Okay, well, let's find out what the surface is like. Sean Pollock, you're still out there, are you? And what does it look like? Green like before?
Yeah, Pom, there's a good grass covering, as Faf mentioned at the toss. It's quite thick in places, and it's got a bit of a green tinge to it. So I would expect some assistance for the bowlers with the new ball in their hand. Generally, it does be a little bit slow on day one, quickening as the game goes on. But it looks like a nice surface, very similar to what we saw against Australia last year. The square is in good nick. It's plenty of healthy grass covering. In fact, I wish this coat of covering was the same on top of my head, then I wouldn't get sunburnt all the time. But it looks good. I think it's going to play nicely. Maybe as the game goes on, we'll get a little bit of assistance for the spinners. But first up, a little bit of movement, get through that period. It should be good for batting. More importantly, I've got the debutant with me. A bit impromptu, but we're going to come via, and congratulations. You must be super excited.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for me. I've been in the squad for a while, so it's really amazing to get the nod. And yeah, hopefully it's a good day.
Talking about being in the squad, when you've played the one-day format, when you've been around, it does make you feel a bit more comfortable. It would have been a bit more foreign if you'd just been invited in to come play a test.
Yeah, definitely. Being in the one-day team, especially preparing for the World Cup, the nerves kind of set aside, and you just want to play as well as you can to get your spot in the World Cup side. So being in the one-day team has really helped me a lot to just be able to play my game today and not worry too much about what's happening on the other side.
Saying that, did you get much sleep last night?
Not much, because it is the ultimate format of the game, so it's going to be really awesome. And with a little bit of sleep comes a lot of adrenaline, so hopefully it's a good game.
Well, you got some time to relax now. Just talk us, how much cricket have you played coming in? I know it's been one-day format, but have you played quite a few four-day games?
Yeah, I've played about 5 four-day games after my injury. So basically the only format I've played. I played one-day game against the Dolphins, and the other 2 games got rained out in last week. So I've played a lot of cricket, so it's going to be good.
Okay, brilliant. Go well. Just do the same stuff you've done at the provincial level. You'll be good. Well done.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
That's it from the debutant. Pom, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sean. If you were to have it as your choice, gentlemen, and you were making your debut, is there a way around you'd prefer? So bat first, bowl first, be in the action straight away, or not? He gets to go upstairs and sit and watch the others bat to start.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Sit down and see what's happening in the test match before you actually have to get involved. I don't have a problem with that. Some guys just want to be involved immediately.
Yeah.
You know, the great I.B.A. Richards.
Right.
He was so nervous when he first started his career, batting at 3. He could not wait to get out into the middle. Not that he wanted someone to get out. And he was so frustrated sometimes. I remember being in Australia on our first tour of Australia. He had to go and open the batting so that he could calm his nerves, get some runs, and then afterwards they put him back at 3.
Really?
Seriously.
There's a story goes he used to sleep. Is he the one who used to sleep
when he got
as well?
mature?
Yeah?
Yeah. After many years, when I tell the story, Bib used to just look at the first few overs, see what the pitch was doing, see what the bowler was bowling, and then in his own mind he would think to himself, what can I do when I get out there? How am I going to score my runs? And then just go and sleep. He didn't need to be watching every ball.
You don't want to be that new young guy in the team, got to go and wake up Vivian Richards to go and bat. Oh, goodness.
No, what he's saying now is almost like our Jack Callis.
He also used to sleep?
Oh, he's sitting at the back cleaning his bat. You know, he never bother himself by... He has to be woke up. Jakes, there's a wicket. Oh, okay. Get up and go.
Watch the first few overs. You don't need a lot after that.
That's it.
Yeah, well, we certainly are looking forward to what it is that he can provide to this test match team, Via and Mulder. Let's move along. Move along to Mike Hazeman. Hayes, you've got some stories for us.
Thanks, Palm. Okay, so what I'm going to look at this morning is DRS. Now, DRS in the process of how they get it going. So it's such an important part of the game now. We just need to analyse how it works within the team and the captain. So let's just have a look at this for starters. And the first man I want to point out is the captain. There he is. Faf, obviously, is a key player. So we're going to go through here and just go through a couple of instances of that. This is a big appeal from Vernon Philander. I'm just going to pause it there. You'll remember the days when Vernon Philander used to go running down and signalling it for to go upstairs, etc. Faf wants to take emotions out of DRS, so he doesn't really want to have a discussion with Vernon Philander at all. In fact, he takes it a step further. Vernon just walks towards him. You'll notice here that actually Faf turns his back to a certain extent on Vernon Philander, so he doesn't get involved. The key man, as far as Faf is concerned, is Quinton de Kock. He's the key man. I'll tell you about Quinton de Kock. This is interesting because this discussion is about the height. I'm not sure Quinton de Kock, as a keeper, has got a full idea about the height. But anyway, let's just keep going on this so we can see. He might get an idea also from this situation. He might get some sort of comment also from Faf. But there's the conversation from Hush, sorry. So there's the conversation. And again, he hasn't spoken to Vernon at all and then goes upstairs. I just want to have a look at this as well and just point out that I think that this is something he missed. You need to get some indication from someone at side on. Now, this is Maharaj, who's just come into the picture. I want you just to have a look at his hand as he points it a little bit up as he comes in here. So he gives a little signal that he thinks it's a little bit high, okay? So there's an indication there that he thinks it's a bit high. He says to, I think, Olafia that it's not out. But anyway, we go through that and we find that it is too high. So that's the story. Now, let's have a look at DRS with Sri Lanka, and we can see that they haven't got a system at all. They're not very organised. You can see there's a big shout again, emotion from Fernando, as you'd accept and expect. But you'll see that the captain doesn't really have a conversation with the keeper at all. There's no real conversation there, just a bit of a side mouth. He chats the bowler as well, and eventually decides to go up. So there's no real process. And that's something they have to work at it as well. And that was the one that was actually timed out. Here's some situations about the things that are overturned. Now, this is a big one that went down the leg side. It was actually sent upstairs and it was given not out. But let's just have a look at a couple of things here which are really important, because Karunaratne, has got to be in a situation where he can help the batsman. So here's Karunaratne. He's right here. He can't help. He can't provide any assistance there. He's got to be here to provide the assistance. And you'll see that that does alter when we get to the South Africans. So let's just turn to the South Africans. He gives no advice. They did chat. He said it's out because he's too wide. He can't tell the angle. Here's another situation with Karunaratne. He's nice and wide there. Let's have a look as we go on. You'll see that we're going to superimpose where Faf stands here. And you'll see that Faf du Plessis, when he does stand, he gets very close. So that's brilliant from Faf du Plessis. He can give real good advice to the batsman. But then we go back again to the second innings, and Karunaratne, if anything, has got even wider here. So this is quite crazy that he hasn't learned that situation, and he's got himself here rather than even getting in here. So that's quite a ridiculous scenario. So that's the situation that we've got. The other thing I will just play in the background as we go on here, as I finish, these are just two other things which South Africa need to look out for, and they need to take notice that this is a wasted review. The game was so close, as we know. It was a wasted review from Temba Bavuma. This is a wasted review from Quinton de Kock. And because that game got so tight, who knows, maybe the batsman right towards the end might have needed a review. South Africa cannot afford to waste these reviews. It's such an important process these days, and I hope that explains it a little bit better. Okay, Pom, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Hayes. That's actually really good. I hope everybody at home appreciates that. You sort of watch it and you see it all unfold. And welcome again to Russell Arnold. Yeah, they're friends now, but I can tell you what was going on before. Anyhow, Russell, you guys, I say you guys, meaning Sri Lanka as a team, from way back, have been pretty good at using the DRS. In fact, when it was trialled, I think I remember you beating India, am I correct?
Yes.
And particularly by its use.
One of the few series that Sri Lanka have won against India. It was back in Sri Lanka, and Ajantha Mendes, he bowls wicket to wicket, so it became really useful for him. The Indians used it more on emotion. And that also didn't go down well when the future of DRS was discussed at that stage. But yes, but around the bat, Sangakkara behind the stumps, Jayawardena at first slip, those are two good heads which held the balance in making those decisions which worked for Sri Lanka.
The difficulty, Makaya, when you run up and you bowl and you expect that you've bowled one that's on and it should be out and so forth. Even now, despite DRS being used for so long, you still get bowlers that are emotional, don't you?
Now, Vernon Philander is one of them.
Yeah, definitely. He's
Who
not
runs
playing
straight all the way.
Yeah.
You know, but I think for me, within all of that, as a bowler, it doesn't matter where he hits. you always have that time that he could have hit the stumps. You always turn back to your captain and whoever that is around you, what you think of it. Then the decision has been taken by the captain anyway. So those are the kind of things that, you get emotional that you're thinking that I would have got that wicket, or even if it's higher, you don't mind about it, but you always appeal. That's the most important.
Yeah, and I guess, your mind is always going towards, we're going to win, I'm bowling the ball that's required, and so forth. Tell me what you expect from Sri Lanka in this test match.
Nothing fancy at all. Just keep chipping away. You don't have to try and do anything special. Suranga Lakmal to set the benchmark once again, and hopefully Kasun Rajitha follows it by being tighter, because the pressure is totally on South Africa. And that's all the Sri Lankan team could have asked for. They're in both teams in positions where they have not been before. South Africa in a vulnerable position. They have to respond, and they cannot have another hiccup. So that's what Sri Lanka need to count on. Chip away and eke them out.
How to deal with the pressure, because yes, he is right, South Africa is under pressure. They generally do not lose at home. They've been fabulous at home.
For me, Sri Lanka, all they need to do is to play 5 days of test match. That's all they need. They've won the first one. Now the pressure has been moved to South Africa. South Africa has to play, they has to make the first move. It doesn't matter what they do. For Sri Lanka, then they need to be patient into their line and length, making sure that they bowl one side of the wicket, not trying to get wickets. They must try to make sure that they taking the game into the fifth of the day.
Pick some players for South Africa. Who are the key men for you?
The first thing, you look at the openers to set the bench, and then the rest of it, and then you've got Quinton de Kock, who comes, at number 7, number 6, whereby he can take the advantage of the all ball. Those are the main sport that I think they are very crucial when it comes to South Africa.
For Sri Lanka, main men?
No one really. I think it needs a team effort.
Okay, well, there you go. Thank you very much, Russell Arnold. Thank you very much, Makai Antini. To all of you, well, I tell you what, if you thought that game 1 was particularly good, this one has to be so much better if South Africa are to get up. All on them. All on them. Day number 1 then, here at St. George's Park. We get it started. Test match number 2.
So alive.
It's electric.
Feel so alive.
We are in Port Elizabeth, and we're about to get the second test match underway, the second Castle Lager test between South Africa and Sri Lanka, and we had a sensational first test of the series, which means quite simply South Africa under pressure. They have never lost a series at home against a side from Asia, so that's why they're under massive pressure. There is some support early, some nice those school kids here to get things underway. Conditions are a little bit overcast here at St George's Park. And just to let you know that South Africa won the toss and they elected to bat first. That's something that Faf du Plessis likes to do. Both teams at the moment are making their way onto the pitch for the national anthems. Alongside me is Michael Holding. Good morning, Mikey. Your thoughts initially?
Morning, Hazy, and hello to all our viewers around the world. Should be a very interesting test match, this one. South Africa, as we know, always looks to be winning test matches, but this is even more important for them now. Everyone thought Sri Lanka coming here, they would get rolled over. You'll get lots of days off, they said. Well, you get days off in every test match these days, but they were thinking perhaps 2.5, 3 days each test would last and Sri Lanka would be blown away. Not so. They have won the first one, and all they have to do now is not lose this one, and they have won the series. Let's see how they go. They'll be very motivated.
So both teams lining up, ready for the anthems. Let's enjoy them. What a nice way to kick things off, to start this second test match. And what a feeling for Sri Lanka. They are 1-up in this series. They've got a real chance to make history. They made history in the first test match, a real chance to clean up this series, and that'll be quite remarkable. There's Mulder, who is on debut. Vernon Philander is not fit. He's done that hamstring, which normally means 10 days in the sidelines. So Bjorn Mulder as a batting all-rounder comes into the lineup, probably at the same spot. So what an opportunity for him. He turned 21 years of age literally 2 days ago, so that's a nice little present for him. He is full of smiles this morning and probably a little bit of nervous tension as well. So just the one change for South Africa. Mikey, there's the lineup.
Well, they certainly need to bat a lot better in this test match than they batted in the last. They need to make sure they can put some pressure on this Sri Lankan team. Sri Lanka, I think, will be quite happy that they are bowling again. That's what they did in the first test, and they'll be looking to get through this top order as quickly as they possibly can. It's a good top order that for South Africa, and they want to get down beyond the cock, because the cock we know can destroy most bowling attacks. Don't know a lot about Mulder, but they say he's a batting all-rounder more than a bowling all-rounder, so he should help with the batting lineup. And Rabada staying on Olivier. Rabada, I don't think he's getting as many runs as his batting ability entitles him to. He should be getting quite a few more.
They are a determined bunch this morning. South Africa, they know the situation. There's no doubt that Faf du Plessis has had a quiet word. He's demanded some more runs for starters, and an opportunity after winning the toss, they could do that. Karunaratne and Tirumalai starting the batting for Sri Lanka at the top of the order. Then Fernando on his second game. Mendes, who passed a fitness test earlier today. And then Pereira, of course, who was just magnificent. Diguela, De Silva and Lakmal. Lakmal, last time he played here, got 5 for and bowled really nicely. Mbodenia, who bowled superbly and got a 5 for on debut in Durban. Vegeta bowled quickly, 145 at one stage. And Fernando picked up 8 for the test in Durban. So these guys will be tested.